UpStart Live. I am Mansa. I am your host for the evening and also your moderator. Our moderator Ambika couldn't make it. She's down. She's feeling a little under the weather, so she's not going to be able to do it this today. So I'm back. I manage events for PayU, and that's why I thought of stepping in for her. So thank you everyone for joining the fourth edition of Women at Workplace. Why it is the fourth edition? We started back in March 2021. It was during the time of Women's Day, and we thought we wanted to cover the daily lives of women employees in at PayU, right? And nothing better than featuring your own colleagues, people who have done it. You have seen them succeed in family and in work altogether. So no one better than them to talk about their lives, their career journeys, and everything else. So I'm honored to be in the company of my panelists here. So we have Itishree Dash. She is the senior manager product. We have Meghna Pal. She's the head of D&I, employee engagement and well-being. We have Vidya SV. She's the senior manager internal comms. I made it a point to choose people from different career paths so that they all make sure they all do justice to the conversation today, and it will only help us understand how different lives come together career wise and everything else, right? So our ladies here come, like I told you, from all walks of life, different journeys career wise, doing various amazing things every single day. What brings them all together is the passion for what they do, in work and outside of work. So thank you again for joining us, all of you. I appreciate the time you have taken to be a part of this panel, taken the trouble to be a part of the dry runs and everything else. And to our audience, thank you so much for being a part of this. This is end of the year, and we wanted to end the year on a high note, and that is why we wanted to bring our women from our own workplace to be a part of this conversation. We will start with short introductions from all of our panelists here and then move on to the questions. Feel free, the audience, this is to you. Feel free to put your questions on the comments. I'll be able to see them. If you're putting it on LinkedIn, I'll be picking it up and posing the questions to our panelists here. Just, Meghna, do you want to go first with the introductions?
Sure. Hi, good day to everyone. My name is Meghna. I go by my pronouns she and her. Um, uh, it's been 10 plus years of doing DNI, but I still feel invested. Very, very happy to see how things have been moving across. But in all fairness, there's still a journey ahead of us. So that's what keeps me going. It's something that I do not just because I'm good at it, but also because it's something I'm extremely passionate about. And yeah, when I'm not doing any of this, I love a bit of gardening. Right? It's my way of nurturing myself and another living creature back. So that's a little bit about me.
Vidya, would you like to go next?
Sure. Firstly, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's indeed my honor as well to be part of this panel, right? Like I've worked with Meghna closely, so I know what she does and how passionate she's about DNI. And Itishree, it was amazing to talk to you, and I would love to have take that conversation forward. Having said that, I take care of communications for PayU India, and I've been part of the team for almost a year and a half now. And I've been doing communications for the past 8 to 9 years. Yeah, close to 9 years. And like Meghna said right, like it is highly. It's wonderful to be part of this career, wonderful to build the branch, and it's amazing to do what we do, because no 2 days are the same. And I love to being part of this the internal comms team. And when I'm not working, I dance and I keep myself both fit mentally as well as physically. That's a little bit about myself.
Sorry, I think Iti will go next. Iti, please take this ahead.
Sure. My name is Itishree. So I have 9+ years of work experience. I'm currently working as a technical program manager as part of PayU payments. So I have been with PayU for about a year. Prior to that, I was with consulting firms. So I'm thoroughly enjoying this journey with PayU. To be honest, I'm so glad that I have met all of you, and I look at it as a friendship, collaborations between all our colleagues, and especially women colleagues. I look at it as a friendship and would want to grow this bond further. Um, so if I talk a little bit about myself, when I'm not working, then I either invest my time in gardening or painting, and I am a pet parent as well. So I have a golden retriever who I'm very close to. So yeah, she's my darling. That's where I spend a lot of my time. Thank you so much, Mansa, for bringing us all together and helping us develop this bond.
Thank you, Iti, Meghna, and Vidya. So I'm going to get into the questions right now. Meghna, the first question is for you. I just wanted to understand, right? This also comes to you because of the DNA. Your experience of getting, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So, your experience of getting men to support gender positive initiatives at workplace, how do we make men a part of this conversation? What is your experience, first of all, and how do we bring in people that are not technically involved, right? Because all said and done, it is not something that they probably have or experience on a daily basis.
Okay. So I get the toughest one to begin with. Okay. I guess at the very onset, what I wanted to call out is that your workplace composition or representation across isn't binary. So we really can't be thinking of this world as male and female only, right? Even if you click into group of female as a population, take the four of us, we come from very different backgrounds, are at very different life stages, doing different things, and driven by multiple passions in our life. But it is also a fact that statistically we are our majority of visible population is male workforce. And a large part of the story is not just in workforce, which is a smaller microcosm, but the larger ecosystem around us. Multiple reasons. I think that's not what we're trying to address today, but it comes to a very integral statement you made, that they are not involved in this. Technically, they are not involved in this. That's what you just mentioned it. But to think of it, everyone is actually involved. Um, in my experience, the best way to get anyone to support anything is help them understand what is in it for them. What is in it for you, Mansa, as a person, versus your team lead versus the larger organization. And in this scope of things, you can be a male, you can be a female, you can choose to not to identify with anything. But it's important to realize that everyone is going through their set of challenges, each one of us. If we make this, unfortunately, over all these years we have made this a very male bashing conversation. It's not a male bashing conversation. It is not about one person stepping on top of the other and then making their way. It's about just knowing that we all exist and there is room for everyone, and all you need to do is wiggle a little bit to make it comfortable for the other person. So what I have always done is make people realize that it's everyone's role to play. And in that narrative, it's a very gender neutral narrative. In this given scheme of things, you can be a female, you can be a male, and you can choose what is it that affects you most. Of workplace flexibility, it is unfair to think that only women need that, right? But given statistically we have more male managers, like I said, it's just pure statistics. You would want to sensitize your managers in general to deal with requests that come along, to deal with talent management within their team, workforce management within their team. And and therefore, if a male manager, for instance, needs a little anecdotal information of why is it like this, why I can't understand the struggle, which is fair, then you share it with them, right? But it's not about they need to do it, otherwise we will not rise. And um, that, yeah, I think I tried to make my point. You
Yeah,
will be surprised to know that we find there is actually a lot of study that has shown that women actually don't step up enough to lift other women, right? That we don't do our fair bit in supporting each other, or making a recommendation, or taking a moment to invest in each other's career pathways. So to make any initiative, and diversity is a broad set of representations and identities, to make any initiative or any effort successful, everyone needs to go and understand that they have a role to play primarily. We can't do it alone, right? So you all have a role to play, and that you must realize what is in it for you and how can you contribute to bring that larger change. um, yeah, so I strongly believe it's across the board for every one of us.
absolutely. So, Iti, I come to you with a question. So we often talk about balancing work and family life, right? Especially if we're talking about in-laws or anything else of that sort. So do you know or have any experience which sheds a positive light on this topic? So in the case of Meghna, so when the question came, it probably there was a chance to take it in a negative way, but the way she had something positive to talk about it. So I think you also would have some instances where there is something positive to talk about. Any conversation that you've had, just if you can just share that with me, with us.
Okay, sure. Mansa, if you're talking about work-life balance, I think nobody will be able to arrive at be a 10 on 10 on that. Like, जितनी भी कोशिश करो, जिंदगी में कुछ ना कुछ तो छूट ही जाएगा. Right? I love that dialogue. So that's true. I think we all try to put in that effort from our end, and it's not just applicable for all women. I'm talking about everybody in the equation. So so I'll just give you a bit of a background and share a personal experience here. So if I talk about my mother-in-law, she is a working woman. So she had worked for about 35 years. She's a PhD herself. When I got married, and after that, basically over a cup of coffee, she poured her out in front of me, and she was talking about, she was giving me pearls of wisdom, things that she has done over the last couple of years and what's worked for her. So if we talk about work-life balance, I will take that example. She told me that there are multiple important things. The first is, how do you prioritize your work, be it at home or be it at work? You have to make sure that you just don't take up a lion's share. You have to prioritize it. See if you can delegate it. If you are talking about work at home, then make sure that there's a core chore contract. That you might not have a official one, but make sure you have a chore contract with your spouse and you guys follow it. The second that I think is applicable for everybody is to have a support system. These days we live in nuclear families, but having a support system is extremely important so that they can step in whenever you are not around or you're not able to make it. So here I stay with my partner. And the thing is that I have my housekeeper who takes care of it, and I absolutely adore her, and I'm grateful for the contribution that she makes. And that is the reason I can devote more time. I can at least try to achieve a balance. And yeah, that's that. Another thing that she told me is more so for, again, applicable for everybody, is that there will be multiple days where you might not have a good day.
Mm.
And you feel terrible, you are doubting your own capabilities. That is the time where you have to remind yourself, dude, you're a self-made person, and you have come this far. So there's definitely a reason you are where you are right now. You're not a Cinderella who had a fairy godmother. It's you who has come this far. You're the one who's driving that car, bought it with your money, or you've that person who's done something, right? So make sure that you continue the good work, and it's just the start. So these are the things which motivate me. And to be honest, this is how we bond, and I'm thankful to her for this. I try to achieve work-life balance, but yeah, I'll always try to get better at that.
I think that is one thing that is always in motion, right? That you don't all you never will achieve 100% work-life balance, and that's okay. Like you said other things that things will always be in motion. Things will never actually sort itself out, and that's fine. That's life. So yeah, very, very difficult question for you, Vidya, right now. But I believe you can do justice to this. So, what do you think is the biggest difference between challenges the working women face now today and what they will probably face in about 20-25 years? Do you think there is going to be a difference to begin with? And how do you think this will happen? How do you think the workplace will evolve?
Um, Let me start off with a positive affirmation that I hope that there will be a difference, because right now I see that although we have a seat at the table, we have our voice heard, it's not equal. So I hope there will be a change. And having said that, there are quite a few challenges that we face today, and one of which is, having the right work-life balance, like Itishree said, or having advocates for us, like Meghna said, someone who can advocate and someone who can speak for ourselves. I mean, see, speak for our, whatever we want to put across. So these are the, there are many challenges, but what I would say is, right now our focus should be of trying to just a moment, sorry. Sorry, once I
I think we have some. Yeah, yes, Vidya, we
I
can hear you.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, can you hear me? I'm extremely sorry. There was a minor glitch. So, yeah, like I was saying, that the focus should be on not the problems, but the solutions that we can offer. I was just reading a report recently where, it was mentioned that it took 100 years for us to actually have women to have the right to vote. And 50 years later, right, we are there where we are represented as some of the senior leaders in the C suite. We are there as represented, I mean, in our country for that matter, we have a women president. So we are getting there. We have leaders who are representing us in the society every day. We have people who are actually who we can look up to. We have mentors who we can look up to, and we have we have people who are representing the community that we belong to. And we are in an era where women can actually make a decision for themselves. They can choose what they want to do. I think that way we are lucky enough, and we can actually make that the a standing ground to build what we want to see in the future. But I do want to see a change in how we are bringing more women to our workplace. Are we promising them, are we giving them larger promises which we can't stand up to, or are we living by what we are talking, is something that I want to stress on. And one thing that I want to see as a change is more representation, not just having like one or two women at the C suite and calling them as gender representation, but equal representation. If we have 50% men in the workforce, 50% should be women. The other thing that I want to change is the pay gap. Everything said and done, we still live in times where men do earn at least 80% more than women. And there have been reports that can, back this fact up, that men are still making more money in terms of wages. So I think that is something that we need to change. Also, I have recently, after the pandemic, I've seen there is a trend of women leaving the workforce more than men. It has taken a toll on women's health more than men, and I believe that if we want to see more representation of women in the workplace, then it should be an effort of both the genders, and it is not just specific to one particular gender. So what I would like to see as a change is having the equal pay, having equal representation, and also having more advocates endorsing for women in the workplace.
Makes sense, Vidya. Thank you so much for covering all of that. I'm just checking. Okay. So, Meghna, I come back to you with yet another question. Again, it's diversity and inclusion related because you have the expertise here. So, I just want to understand, how does one bring conversations of diversity and inclusion with respect to women at workplace? So, technically, whose responsibility is it? How does that happen?
Right. I will start by just laying the caveat that I'm also learning. I don't know it all, but witnessing and experiencing a few conversations and setups, I guess it's unfortunate that we are having to engineer this conversation. Ideally, it should be there, right? That is how it is. If you look back at your home, there is a mother and there's a father. There's no need to engineer it. And similarly, we would hope that everyone in the organization comes feeling, looking, being the way they want to be. Having said that, I guess at times we realize that in certain setups th- there is an over indexation of representation. In this, some cases, or most cases that we are discussing are there are more men in the team than female in the team. Now, who should be thinking about it? I think first of all, a large bit of this lies with the organization, right? It is not that by design they landed up here. It's just that there are certain biases that play in every process and everyone's mind that makes it difficult to keep it in check. And by the time you've spent certain time, you just realize that you have a homogeneous set of group, or you have more of the same. And this could be any of us, right? If you are someone who's an impulsive shopper, you'll realize, like me, after 10 months, that all my clothes are black, right? So it's not because of that. It's just that you didn't put any intent and effort to it. And therefore it's very important that everyone, at least in the leadership and the management, acknowledges that this needs to be changed, or this needs to be rectified. And those initial steps of rectification need to be deliberate and intentional. It cannot be that, okay, we need to change, but then what? Right? We need to really identify the gap. We need to get into understanding what is that appropriate solution or the way forward for us. What would work for another company, another giant tech, or another financial bank may not work for us as a fintech, or what works for a very early stage startup does not work for an enterprise like ours. So it is just that awareness that something needs to be done, and even before that, that something is not looking right. You can look in a team meeting and realize, oh, there's only one person. Okay, so how did that happen? Fine. So of course, and the beauty here is, in my last half year here, that there is extreme buy-in from the leadership, and trust me, that is half your battle won. There is extreme buying, and it's not tokenistic. The fallacy of this is also, again, that many people do this very tokenistically. Our leaders here are extremely invested in the fact that, yes, this needs thought, yes, this needs structured approach, and yes, we are willing to make the effort, and go over and beyond to make sure that we do this with high sense of inclusivity, not making this again male bashing, right? So, of course, people need to start bringing. Now, in terms of women representation, particularly, you can do everything, but if the person in question doesn't want to be invested, there's really little that the organization can do, right? uh, we have seen in the past, like I said, that there aren't too many women who come forward and support others and lift each other as they rise. It feels like a battle at the start, but as you move forward, you just forget that someone is still there waiting for that bit of support, that little bit of guidance, that direction that probably happened to you but didn't hasn't happened to them yet. So I feel that all of us should take a moment to see how, in our close circle, we can influence people in the right direction, influence people to speak up for themselves. And when it comes, again, when it comes to careers, there are many reasons that one has to take a halt. And I'm being very gender neutral here. I feel the pressure on men to not take a career break and stigmatizes is steep. So anyone can choose to take a career break as part of elder care, as a part of self upskilling, um, or a life stage, right? But in most women who decide to pursue a family, there comes that by design. It is by design that you probably take a year and a half of pause or slowing down on pacing out the career track that you're on. In these scenarios, I feel it is upon those them to take a moment and introspect where they were seeing themselves, pick things up, and get back to being intentional. One has to get intentional about what they want to achieve. You resume work and then you are like, you know what, my manager doesn't support me, you know what, I'm not getting the right opportunity, you know what, that person got promoted and I didn't. But did you even think about it? Because that person was working, your manager is here to help everyone likewise. But did you really chart out that, okay, 3 months into joining, 6 months into joining, 12 months into joining, these are the next few things I want to do? I have seen plenty of people who have taken a moment to do this career graphing for themselves and normalize the journey that they were on. Right? They have normalized it, and something that Itishree just mentioned, in the larger scheme of things. I also tell this to my siblings. I think there's a photo somewhere there. My sister is an absolute workaholic herself. I constantly tell this to my siblings as well, that if you take a time frame, everything in your career aggregates. There, everything will aggregate eventually, but you have to make that effort of prioritizing what you want to do now versus what you want to do later. So the the responsibility is, of course, on the larger organization. The responsibility is upon us as women to do our bit in our circle of influence. But even before we start doing it for anyone else, we should start doing it for ourselves. We really need to get back to understanding what we want, when do we want it, and how do we get there. And does that mean that I take some time out? Itishree mentioned prioritize. Does it mean I take some time out and invest in my own upskilling, and ask for help? If I think I need that project, I ask for it. If I think I need a little support with maybe a few hours off, I ask for it. So that's that. And something that I have seen work very beautifully in the past, and that's something we're also aspiring here at PayU, is that you give the owners back to everyone in the organization. You're trying to build a culture of belonging for everyone. You allow them to play a role. So the conversation of diversity and inclusion are just your precursors. It actually moves to building culture, it moves to building belonging, it then moves to building equity. And here every individual player has a large role to play. So you go back and you tell your employees that you have a role to play, and you take the best call. What do you think we should be doing? um, it will keep us relevant, as always.
Yeah.
and it will keep us very real. So yeah, there are so many people involved, and everyone has a role to play.
Yeah, Meghna, I think that was a good thought. The way you sort of laid out everything that we were talking about, and I think it totally makes sense, right? At times, it is not just somebody else's responsibility, but my own to put my question up front and get that answered for myself, because it is me finally who's responsible, and it is my life that I need to get on track, or career, anything for that matter. So, Iti, while we are talking about that, I'm coming to you right now. This was something that, like we said, like it goes into a position where men are looked down upon for wanting to take a, gap year, or time off because they want to spend time with their family, or just upskill maybe, or just like not work, right? Because they don't want to do that at that moment. So this is where it comes in. So is it a man's responsibility to provide financially for their family? So what do you think about that?
Okay, so the difficult question for me, to be honest, I don't think I'm qualified to answer this, and it's a very personal choice. So it's a personal choice for the woman in the equation, and it's also a choice for the couple that we are talking about, or the family that we are talking about. However, I will speak from experience and my observations that I've made. So I believe in India, there's a lot of stress on education, on skill building, and that's comes up always. That so when we look at schools, there we have girls and boys going undergoing education, then they build their skills, and finally they move on to the workplace. Some decide to take up an entrepreneur journey, and others would want to work in organizations, and there are other options as well. As a result of that, uh, there comes financial, of course, there's remuneration that's paid, and then there is financial confidence. When an individual is working, that not just gives the person confidence, financial stability, it also becomes a part of an individual's identity, right? Those are extremely important. If I just pick financial independence here, I think we have to give men some amount of slack there. It might not be completely their responsibility. If there is a woman who is also working, she is independent financially. There are multiple things that can be done. There can be multiple situations. One, she could provide a cushion. That is the cushion that she could give to the family. She could choose to take care of expenses the way she wants to. Second, that it's not just about that. There are a lot of adversarial situations that people face in life. Sometimes there are relationships that are abusive. We need that confidence. Women at least need that confidence. If they have that financial freedom, they get that confidence to carry on. They would know what to do. Then there are also instances where I've seen cases of partners' demise. So there are multiple, or medical emergencies for that matter. So financial confidence, I think, is extremely important. Independence is extremely important. Whether the woman chooses to provide for the family, it's completely up to her, or up to the couple and the family themselves. They can choose to take that up. I hope I was able to answer that.
Absolutely. I think you made complete sense there, Riti, and thank you so much for covering that as well. Um, so now coming to this, right? Vidya, this is your question. Um, we Meghna did talk about this very briefly, but do you think women usually support each other in the workplace? And what are some of the things that you have seen yourself, or something that you would like to point out specifically where it has happened, or somewhere where there is room for improvement? Maybe this could be very particular to you, right? It might not be something that's happening around you every day, but something like that.
Yep. I mean, I was actually listening to Meghna, and I have my own opinion, right, about this. Although there have been a couple of instances where I myself have not come across people who have not supported me, and it was not gender specific, but most of my mentors, most of my sometimes my close friends are from the work circle. So I can vouch for women being there for women, and maybe I can even owe some of my career progression to them. So I have actually had wonderful experience when it comes to talking to women colleagues, or like having someone to back you up when you are feeling down, or someone to actually lift you up, and maybe even advocate for you during the meetings. There have been women who have played that role for me. And I can say that, it is a nice feeling. It is nice to have someone who is actually who has experienced what you have experienced, and who is there to provide you their mentorship, right? That is something that we all would need and we all look for. Having said that, our formative perceptions, our formative judgments are formed when we are very young. So we look for our reflections in people, right? When whatever our insecurities are, whatever our positives and negatives are, we start looking for reflections of what we believe in people. So in like that, we actually, like, when we uh, that formative, those perceptions are built when you're in school. Those perceptions are built from family. So it becomes very important that who you bring into your circle when you are when you're studying, or when you're actually trying to build your career, what you're trying to pursue. That becomes the foundation for how you're planning to, like, how you build your workplace relationships as well. And one thing that I want to stress here is that when I began my career, I did not think of doing communications. It was actually one of my managers, who was again a female colleague of mine, who stepped up and said that, it is something that you will be good at. I think you have the conviction for it. I think you can build a really good career in that. So I started my career in communication based on an advice which was provided by a female colleague, and here I am today, 8 years later. So it is people are there, opportunities are there. It is how you look at the world and how you want to make the most out of it, right? And also, I would second what Meghna said. The intent should come from you. It should not be that, you can't go around telling or blaming people for not helping you, or you can't go around praising people for always uplifting you. The intent needs to be coming from you. You need to have your goals set, you need to have your objectives set, and help is there. Help is always available. If you reach out, help is always there. And there are always people who want to, it is not gender specific. Again, there are always people who want to uplift you. So my all I want to say is that, women are women helping women is a wonderful thing. And personally, I have always had mentors who have looked up to me, I mean looked after me rather, and who I looked up to. So it's a nice group of network if women can continue to support each other.
Wonderful, Vidya. Thank you so much for that. So now I think we have taken our time to answer the questions. Now these are some generic questions, right? Like get to know you sort of a thing. So this for all of you, take turns to just answer this for me. So how do you carve out time for yourself away from family and work? Like we have been talking about family, we have been talking about work. That's enough. Now let's talk about you. How do you do that for your? What do you do for yourself, and how do you manage to do that? Meghna, you can go first.
Okay. I have, in the last couple of years, just around pre-COVID, realized that I need to build different centers of my life. It's not only work or it's not only fun, but add a few dimensions that have nothing to do with them. So, thinking of health, thinking of well-being, and I block time off. I think I treat it as a meeting. I block my time off when I do it. And just like I wouldn't reschedule a meeting until I need to, I try not to move that around much. So my day is planned around that time to cook, that time to walk, that time to stare at my laundry. I never get to folding it, but that is how I plan. Yeah,
I
but
think that's beautiful.
yeah, but just prioritizing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned, this was, I guess, my second or third job when I was leaving, and you have the to-do list. Like I'm a to-do list person, so I'm looking at the to-do list, and I'm like, even today I have things to do. Like I'm exiting, I don't have the chance to finish it. So just getting to making peace, you will not always make it there. You can't treat everything as a deadline and whole beat yourself. Let's just stop being so hard on ourselves. हुआ हुआ नहीं हुआ तो ठीक है. It's okay. We'll figure it out. I sleep on that laundry on some days. It's okay. Yeah.
Yes. So, Iti, what do you do for yourself? Like, what are your things for you?
Okay, so I try a lot to do loads of things. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. I think one advantage that I have is I belong to the 5 a.m. club. So basically, I wake up early in the morning. That's because I mean that's by design. Everybody in my family is a morning person, so I think that comes naturally to me. So that gives me ample amount of time to get a couple of things done. First thing is exercise. Again, this is something that I've been doing post COVID. I did not have the time previously, but I think it's a good practice to get some amount of exercise. And then, yes, I do have slots. So I second Meghna there. Even I have slots. So, start of the year, I think this is, I mean, we are moving towards the end of the year. Start of the year, I make some resolutions. At least out of 10, I'll try to meet 5, but that's also a win-win. So I set a target for books I want to read, but even if I fail, if I set a target, I will still complete. I'm an audible person. More than reading books, I would like to listen. And I do that while going for a walk or a run. That works for me. And then a couple of other activities during the day. Like I have plants, I water them. Then, yeah, sometimes get some time to sing, do some painting, but yeah, it's a little chaotic. I manage.
But that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Am I the only
What about
one doing
you?
it laundry?
Laundry?
I said, am I the only one struggling with laundry?
That's for my partner. That's his contract. So the Joe contract, that's on him.
Wonderful. Vidya, what about you? What do you do for yourself?
I think we as communication professionals are good at multitasking. So I put a lot on my plate, sometimes too much to chew. So I'm a very spontaneous person, and I'm that has actually there is an upside to it. There is also a low side to it, that I can't stick to a particular schedule or a discipline for. I don't have the discipline to stick to a schedule for a very long time. So what I do is weekends are when I spend time to reflect on what I want to do and where I want to be. One thing that I have consciously built over the past 2 or 3 years is to put a plan so that I can acquire a new skill, one skill per year. That is my goal, and I've been able to stick to that. And Last year I focused on developing my skills. I also dance, so I wanted to focus more on building my skills there, and starting a school. Thankfully I have few students who come and learn from me, so that is something that I do, and I'm very passionate about it. Before that, I said that every day I will schedule some time to read and acquire more, build my skills, rather, like both communication skills, both writing and talking. As you can see, it's not been good so far. I still get nervous, so next year I'm focusing on public speaking. So it's a everyday battle for me, but this is something that I do. I also love to travel, so that's how I managed to take my time off work. And yeah, these are some of the passions that I've acquired a few years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, Mansa, why don't you tell us?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
I'm
know,
going there. So it's a common thing, right? Somewhere along the way, I started to read, but I am not that non-fiction person. I cannot open a book if it doesn't have some interesting story, some drama. I will say that in front of anybody, but I love reading fiction because that makes me want to turn the page. And for me, that's what reading should be about. It's not about just like Vidya said, maybe my thoughts are exactly on the same. Maybe it'll help me improve my
Mm.
skills, my speaking skills, or my reading skills for that matter, or just communication overall. So I like reading, and this is that thing that came to me during COVID. I love watching shows, so I can binge it to the extremes and finish it off. But now, because we have been back at work, I have started prioritizing sleep over the shows. So the shows don't get binged as much as they used to. But otherwise, I think reading, and I do like all this jewelry making and all the ones that you do with wood or these beads. So I like all of that, and I like board games. So I just like I think I have a partner, but I can take care of myself if I'm let. Like it's almost like a child, right? You give them something, they'll entertain themselves. So I like that. So anytime I get something to do for myself, if it's just even just reading, I'll just go on doing it. So that's probably me. But yeah, thank you so much for asking. So now, this is the last question, right? And this is something that um, I wanted to get the fun, more so the fun aspect of it. So let's talk about workplace fashion. So what are some of the things that you have noticed? You have a funny story. You have something nice to take away from the whole conversation. So please tell me more. Meghna, again, I'm coming to you. Please tell me.
uh, I am the most fashionable person to comment on this, right? Sarcasm intended. But okay, this is like my first year of job, right? I'm born and raised in Bombay. Some of the most fashion forward people are always around you, and yet no one really gives a second look. Like you could be wearing whatever you're wearing, but no one is going to ask you twice. Um, and I started with an investment bank. So formals, everyone's pretty prim and proper. 8:45, 8:50, everyone's on their desk, looking as if they just took an hour to get ready and come to work. And there's me, who's done this local train business, who just come. I used to tie my hair up, and I used to just about reach. I've always had a very muted taste in clothes, so yeah, that some simple black top, something, and I'm there. Um, and I had this really nice person who used to sit next to me, very senior, but an absolute sweetheart and a buddy for me when I started. And here's me trying to do a presentation. Yeah, I am on the clock. I have to finish this. And I didn't think much because I was dressed enough to walk out of the house and make a 10-kilometer journey. I think I was okay. But my hair was all up and it was in this bad bun, and there is humidity, so it goes frizzy. And she just, I'm like, no, can you tell me how is this looking? Do you think this presentation's fine? And then she looks at me and she's like, why don't you comb your hair? I'm like,
Mm.
why? Is that important? And then she said the most beautiful thing I have always taken up with me. She like, if you don't take yourself seriously, no one else will ever take you seriously.
Very
Right?
true.
And what it really meant, while I could have thought of it very differently, in all these years, that single line means many things to me now. It means the fact that you need to pay attention to yourself. Um, you need to take you need to realize that while you project work, it's not that alone that speaks. It's you who speaks first. And it's you who are seen first. Now, I'm not objectifying people. I'm just saying that do not let anyone else assume your story,
Mm.
right? If that means that you need to not look that shabby, then take that effort. But when you walk in and you walk out feeling that, why didn't I take charge of my story? then we know whom you have to blame. So in terms of workplace fashion, wear whatever is comfortable, but then also do yourself some fair justice in terms of how you present it. But yeah, I always felt it was very silly, but every day I remind myself that if you don't take yourself seriously, no one else will. So,
Absolutely. Iti, what do you have for us?
Well, I mean, okay. So my first job was with a consulting firm. So it was my second. So again, I think similar to Meghna's experience, in consulting, people are very prim and proper. So I transitioned from that kind of a workplace to currently at PayU, where we are fairly easygoing. So I am glad that first thing is that we get to wear, and people are fairly easygoing in terms of sense of dressing. But I do agree to the fact that when I see someone well put together, I appreciate that myself. And try to switch between being wearing something comfortable or looking less formal. But yes, I appreciate the fact that people put some amount of effort before coming to office, and that shows in terms of confidence as well. So I try to do my bit there.
yeah, I actually like what she said, right? You wear your confidence, and confidence never looks shabby. Confidence
Yeah,
is a very bright side of you. So,
absolutely. Vidya, this is for you right now.
Yes. Not to quote a popular brand, but it's as the saying goes, right? If you look good, you feel good. So for me, it's still a journey. I'm learning myself. I keep checking with my mentors, checking with my friends, like what looks good, how do I present myself, and I'm always open for feedback. So I think for me, fashion is a definition of what is how you want to represent yourself to the world and how you want people to perceive you. So, like Meghna said, wear what makes you comfortable, but also ensure that people perceive you the way you present yourself, right? And that is something that is very important, and especially in an industry that I am representing, where I'm also the face of the brand, right? When I participate in any external event, or I'm part of any panel discussion or anything for that matter, when we present ourselves externally, it becomes very important how you are showcasing where you're coming from, and it's also an added responsibility that you're representing the brand. So that's something that we should be wary of, and when you're dressing, please be cautious of that fact. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Absolutely. So before Iti asks me to put my opinion here, I'm already putting it. See, for me, I think it would be, I sort of take inspiration from what Iti said. So the confidence part of it, right? But if I am confident, right, in the way I look, maybe in a t-shirt, but that's up to me to decide on that, all said and done. But also there is a certain level of uh, expectations from you, and maybe keeping up to that is more than enough, nothing else. Yeah. It is more so like there should be no false sense of beauty, as long as what you stand for is what you are, and you're not trying to, no one is saying it in a way that they're not pushing anything on you, and you are also very confident in what you do. You see a lot of people otherwise also, right, like dressed very well, dressed to the almost like they could walk, they are probably walking on the runway, and just then you see them as such. So and that's something to look up to, and that is technically okay. But you are dressed how you are, and you are confident, you do what you are there to do. No one is going to say anything else to you that probably is expected of you, right? Maybe in terms of clothes. So I sort of ranted there. Being the moderator, you're expected not to rant, but yeah. So that's what I feel like. As long as you have the confidence, there is no false sense of beauty, I think we are okay there. But yeah, that's what I wanted to put my thoughts. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the session. We really thought we'd end this in 30 minutes, but us being us, we have been speaking and putting our thoughts out there. And I really didn't want to stop the three of you from expressing what you wanted to, right? And we have made the whole 1 hour, 1 hour justice to the topic. So, to the audience, thank you so much for listening to us. We see that most of you have stayed throughout the session. So thank you so much. On LinkedIn, it's been wonderful to catch you there. Iti, Meghna, and Vidya, thank you so much for doing this. Again, I know it must have been difficult to spare time to be a part of everything that required from prep to today. So thank you so much. I would like to thank the team that allows us to continue to do these conversations, right? Be it for PayU, people who are watching us from PayU or from outside. Thank you so much for allowing us and encouraging us to be talking about something like this, not allowing, encouraging us to be talking about things like this, because it only helps and pushes the agenda that women are there to stay, and we are a very big part of the workplace. So thank you once again. Happy holidays, and I hope you have a wonderful year ahead. Thank you once again. That's
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank
Mansa.
Bye.
you. Take care. Bye.
Happy holidays. Bye bye.